It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stone to face, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness.
Hey, welcome back to Baseball 101. I'm Darin Cissell, and with me today is actually my first teammates. And you might know them by other names and other things, but Coach Gough is here, the head coach of Zumwalt West. So, yeah, we've known each other since, I was 4 or 5.
It's been a few days, yeah.
It has few decades.
Yeah, 1979, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe 1980, somewhere in there.
Yes. I told you guys a couple weeks ago I was turning 50. He beat me to it.
Just barely.
But, yeah, we've known each other forever. We've gotten to play together since we were literally our first game. I remember pitching. He was catching. We would switch. Pretty much for the first several years we did that.
Yeah, you'd pitch the first 4. I'd pitch the last 3.
Yeah.
And nobody else ever pitched.
Why would they?
12 games a season. We had all the arms we needed.
We dominated.
We did.
At least my memory. Now, if you've been watching the show, 1, thank you. 2, tell a friend. And 3, snow cones has come up quite a bit recently. This is literally, he has the same memory. Like, we would play at R3. I don't know. R3 ended a long time ago.
Absolutely, yeah. Adam 1, Adam 2.
Yeah.
That's what it was called. Then it wasn't Batum 1, Batum 2, yeah.
And the midget?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Wow. I'm digging deep.
Yeah.
That was, for those that are our age, you're like, yeah, I remember those. Juvenile, I think, was after midget.
You were old then.
Yes. That was when you looked up to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, after games, we used to race to the concession stand and get the snow cones. So I've asked several people, if you were getting a snow cone now, what flavor would you go with?
Oh, half grape, half cherry.
This is why he's the head coach. I've been the assistant. I never thought of halfsies.
Outside the box.
I would either go grape or cherry. I never thought of splitting.
You got to mix it up.
You learned something. You could turn it off right now and you learned. You can go half and half. So, but from growing up playing baseball together, we used to hang out. Our dads played softball.
Yep.
We were Golden Triangle, eating ring pops and playing like high school. We played football together. He was a quarterback. I was a receiver. Like, we go way back if you haven't figured that out by now. So I don't know what direction we're going today, but I know we're going to have fun and hopefully you enjoy it. But mostly we're going to talk about Zumwalt West, and really, before we even get started, I know there have been some rumors that this will be your last year.
No rumor.
No rumor.
No rumor.
So
no secret.
You're confirming this is it.
Oh, yeah. It's no secret. It's, made that decision this summer. It's just time. It's, we got great people at Zumwalt West. Don't know who's going to step in for sure, but there will definitely be a good candidate or two that will step up and be ready to go and take over the program. Zumwalt West is going to be fine. I know they're going to play baseball in Jaguar land long after I'm gone and be playing really good baseball too. So,
and that's, it has been fun to see. And obviously, how many years of coaching? You started long ago.
Yeah, my first year of coaching was 1996. First year I got out of college. So it was my first, I started teaching in the fall of 96. Coached football and baseball, so my first baseball season would have been the spring of 97.
And that was in Columbia, right?
And that was in Columbia, yeah. I was fortunate to get on there at Hickman when I graduated from Mizzou and was around just some outstanding coaches. Kent Fuel was, he's a Hall of Fame coach in baseball. Greg Nesbitt was able to coach with him for a couple years if you're in the football world. Just one of the best high school and now small college football guys out there. Had a great stint at Truman State as well. So was really influenced by some great coaches early in my coaching career. Being young and dumb, that was a great opportunity for me. And then coming back to Zumwalt West, got the opportunity to get in there in 1999. So
when did West open?
1998.
So you, from the beginning,
Yeah. So I missed the first season, the first year, but then since then I've been there. Took a small hiatus to be an assistant principal from 05 to 08 and realized that wasn't my why.
No.
So got back into the classroom and got back onto the ball field where I belonged, and it's been a remarkable career. Had a lot of fun. I'm sure there's a long list of people that could tell you what an idiot I am, but that goes along with the coaching gig, and you got to embrace that a little bit. But
So you took over as a head coach in 2010.
that is correct. Yeah, 2010. So this
All
will
right.
be season number 16 coming up.
So, and that's one of the things that hasn't been impressive. Zumwalt West had talent from when they opened, but they never were really able to get over the hump and start winning. To me, until you developed that program into really, to me, it's one of the top 5 programs in the state. Like,
Well, you're kind to say that. It's it was difficult at times. The biggest challenge that when I took over, one, I had a lot to learn. So much to learn as being a head coach. When you're young and you have all this energy and all these ideas. I know, Bobby Donahue, his quote at one time, he said, it'd be really nice to have somebody with some piss and vinegar over there. And you're ready to go conquer the world, and you have all these ideas, and you think you know everything, and then you get humbled real quick and realize that you don't know squat. And I learned so much from those teams in my first few years of coaching, from 2010, 11, 12, and then those teams taught me so much. And then the 13 team especially is the one that I hold near and dear to my heart, because that was the first district title.
Yeah.
And that was the team that really taught me the importance of coming together as a band of brothers. And something we preach in our program is we don't play with each other, we play for each other. And that team was a team that really embodied that. And I learned so much from those guys, and just continue to learn and grow. And I still learn and grow. So
that's one of the things that I've always appreciated about you. And obviously we've been around a lot of coaches over the course of our career.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. A lot of coaches better than me, I guarantee you.
Well, it's better. We'll get into that later on. But I think you've done a lot of things really, really well. And one of the things I've always appreciated, you've always asked questions. From the time, you've always been curious about, hey, how you do this or how you do. Not that you would do it the same way.
Nope.
But you still would ask a question and be like, what can I take from this coach or that coach, and then bring it into your system and make it yours.
100%.
And it's interesting. Last time I really talked to you was at the prep camp it was the beginning of August this year. And I went down and I was teaching bunting. Shocking for those that know me, I was teaching bunting
all the time.
But there was only 3 or 4 coaches that came down to listen to me talk about bunting.
Yep.
And it always fascinates me. I don't know a lot, but I teach bunting pretty well. Like, Hal's been pretty successful with bunting over the years.
Yeah, absolutely.
The younger coaches that stayed up on the hill while I'm down teaching, you've heard me teach bunting many, many times. And then after I taught it, you asked me to come work with your kids, which I'd love to do.
Absolutely.
But that's the sort of thing. And Rogers from Troy was down there. Like, the guys that are having success, Beckman, the guys that came down are the same guys that are having success. Like, there's a direct correlation between guys that are willing to learn and grow and take in ideas, even if they don't use them, but still listen.
And that's, to me, that's part of the thing about baseball is, how many times have I listened to you talk about bunting or seen you work with a kid or said, hey, I remember being at a youth park at one time and our kids just happened to be playing in the same place. Yeah. And you were there an hour before, you dropped off Ty, and we were doing some pregame bunting, and you just kind of stopped by to say, hey, and 30 minutes later you left after rolling through every single kid, teaching them up. And I learned from every session. But even the last session at the GAC camp, I think I was standing down there talking probably to Coach Hill or Coach Rogers, and you said something, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just turned to him and said, man, I've never really said it like that or thought of it quite like that. But it was just one little nugget that I got. And that's what those camps and clinics are so important. So they're just so awesome, because that's what you go for. And that's why you like to listen to other people, because you pick up those small little things. And, probably expand on something here, but I've always been a guy who's gone to the high school coaches clinic and tried to get out to clinics and pick coaches' brains. But for me, I found early in my career, I wouldn't miss a session sitting in the chair in the presentation room.
Yeah.
And I would just scribble notes, and just absorb it all as best I could as a sponge. And then, I'd go to the social sessions in the evening, and sometimes that's where the best informational sessions would break out, when you're just hanging out with coaches after hours and you talk about specific concepts. And I learned real quick, sometimes you're better off not going into the room, but just instead grab a guy and say, hey, how do you do this? I remember I went down to Nashville for a national conference, actually. And of all people, I run into John Myers, who's the Hall of Fame coach from Marquette, of course. I run into him, and I said, Coach Myers, I got a question for you. And I was simply curious. I thought his teams compete in the running game by executing pickoffs as good or better than any high school team I've seen do it. Like, we have a hard time getting good leadoffs and getting good jumps when we play Marquette.
Coached,
yeah, very well coached, absolutely. So I said, what are you guys doing? Teach me what you're doing. And literally, we were both on the way into a session, and an hour later, we were still standing outside that room talking about pickoffs and what they did at Marquette, and just bouncing ideas off of each other. And I found that, a lot of times that's where the best learning takes place. And just to go along with that, and cut me off and change gears whenever you want, but I've always tried to model, emulate, steal things from the guys that I had the most respect for. Obviously, you play a team like Francis Howell over and over again. If you want to beat them, you better start doing some of the things that they're doing. And you better figure out how to defend the bunt game. You better figure out how to put pressure on Howell in the run game, because they put their pants on the same way we do at Zumwalt West, and they're high school kids, and they're going to make mistakes too. And
yes, they will.
And I think there's a stigma with a team like a Francis Howell because of who they've been and what they've accomplished and the history they have, and the legend that Tony Perkins is, that I think a lot of teams don't try to do that stuff against them because there's a fear factor there. And that was a tough hump for us to get over at Zumwalt West. But I've always tried to model after coaches like Tony Perkins at Howell, Frank Masters at Timberland. Like, the number of times that we would play Timberland early in my coaching career, and I would think, he has no more talent than I do, and he kicks my butt every time. And when I say kicks my butt, it's not about me. It's about the kids. And, Scott Brown was another one at Vianney. Like, we would play great ball games with Vianney, but Vianney would find a way to beat us in the end. Yeah. And when I leave the ballpark, I would think to myself, I want my guys to do this like Vianney does. I want my guys to do this like Hal does. I want my guys to do this like Timberland does. And multiple coaches. I've stolen stuff from Russ Hill over to Zumwalt East. I've stolen stuff from a bunch of guys all over the place.
But I think that's the thing that, to me, you've taken that program, you haven't stopped growing and learning. And you keep implementing new things, and you're doing things at Zumwalt West that other schools aren't doing. And I think back to the coaches that, when we came in, like Joel Adams, and like there's been a lot of guys, Masters and Donahue, and there's so many that even if their whole system didn't work for you or for who, you were able to take that piece, like from Marquette or from whoever.
Absolutely. Yeah, just when you play a guy like Bobby Donahue early on, I mean, you're going to take stuff away from him.
Yes. Normally a lot of stories, but
a lot of stories, yeah.
Some hidden ball tricks.
Yeah.
And that's what it's funny, after you coach against certain guys so long, you expect certain things from them.
Yeah.
That when they don't do, it's like, wait,
what's going on over here?
Like, if Howell doesn't bunt in a game, I've had people like, why didn't you bunt? I'm like, I don't know, play us again. We will.
Yeah.
Like, it's a matter of time, but it is interesting going, and obviously I've seen Zumwalt West from the beginning. All the way through, and the last, 8 to 10, maybe 12 years back, 13, like, I think you've beaten Howell more than Howell's beaten you. Like, if I had to look, I would bet, if it's not 500, you guys are definitely the team that Howell struggles with the most.
Unfortunately, that when it comes district time,
I wasn't going to bring that
they've
up.
They've gotten us more than we've gotten them. So
I wasn't going to bring that up, but it is one of those things that I think the culture and the mindset that you have created at West is different than any other team. Like I've said, I think Zumwalt West plays harder inning after inning after inning throughout the year than any team that I see throughout the state.
Well, we had, we've obviously a few good things have happened to kind of set up that culture. In 2017, we had the very, very unexpected in the baseball world Final Four run. Heck, we entered districts at, I think we were 18-16 when we entered districts, and our longest win streak during the season was 2 games.
You got to start somewhere.
And, you know, we rattled off 6 in a row and then ended up 1 pitch away from winning the state title. And the thing that was great about that team is they bought into the selflessness that we had been preaching all year. And it was so cool to see when they finally flipped the switch. And then that kind of became a staple of our program, is selling out and leaving it all on the field. I mean, that's the year that, you know, people might see the 4-10 leave no doubt. That's when that was born.
Yeah.
And we preach that. And we just talk about winning this pitch and leave no doubt every single pitch, and play with that intensity and focus and composure and love for the game and love for each other. And at the end of the day, the scoreboard will take care of itself. So,
and that's what people get. And obviously nothing wrong with rankings and preseason and everything else, but sometimes it takes groups longer to click and for everyone to get on the same page. Sometimes going into the season, people are on the same page. Sometimes it's later in the year. But as long as you get there before the end, that's the goal. I know if any program is like, hey, can we get everyone on the same page, go in the same direction? Because if we can do that, then you're scary. But like you were saying, 17, you end up in the Final Four championship game. Once you go, it's like all of a sudden the younger kids are like, hey, we can do this.
Yeah, let's go.
The belief that we went to state as players back in 91, and then you graduated in 92, and then we went in 93. And then from there, Howell started rolling after that 91 team. If I doubt anyone from 91's watching. If you are, hello. Haven't seen you in a while. But that 91 team, we were not – I never thought we were going to be in the state championship game.
No, but that was a group of guys that loved each other and played together and played hard every single pitch. And what was really tough for me, being a young coach, is, you know, being in a program like Francis Howell, whether it was football or baseball or whatever, I was in a culture of winning. And then at Hickman, coaching with Kent Fuel, that was a culture of winning. Coaching with Greg Nesbitt, that was a culture of winning. And then coming to Zumwalt West, which was a brand new high school, there was no culture, much less a culture of winning. And it was a little bit of a shell shock, because it's a completely different thing to be in a culture and try to establish a culture.
Absolutely.
And my head was spinning. I didn't know how to get it done, and it just kind of a trial and error thing. And the most important piece we've had is we've had really good players. We've had really good players that have bought in and said, "Yep, coach, you got it. I'm going to be coachable. I'm going to work my butt off, and I'm going to play for the guy next to me." And that's the most important piece. You got to have the right guys. And we've been just real fortunate at Zumwalt West. We've had some great ball players come through who have been selfless players.
And that's what talent will. You can win games with talent. It's tough to win championships with just talent. Yes. You have to have a team concept. You have to be able. And we've seen in our conference, there's certain programs, they've had an absurd amount of talent, but they haven't really been able to get over the hump of really understanding how to win, or the culture of winning just hasn't been established there. Right. And it takes a group like your 17 group that accidentally, I say accidentally in the nicest way of like, unexpected would be better than accidentally. You're unexpected, all of a sudden you get there, but then everyone after that starts going, we can do this.
Yeah, let's go back. Let's do this again.
And you went back, I know 21.
21, yeah. We've had 2 Final Four trips is all.
And you could have easily had more. I mean, some of our district games could have gone either way, and you could have had 3 or 4 Final Fours.
Oh, I'm sure, you know, 17 and 21 both. You know, I'm sure Tony Perkins thinks those are Final Four rides that he should have been on, and I know that Hal's going on a few that we thought we would have a chance to go on as well.
But I can speak for the 17 group. We didn't think we'd be there.
No, okay.
We won in 16. I don't even think we were right at 500 and 17. We may have been under 500 and 17 and 18. 17, 18 were dark times. Yeah. But again, it goes back to you can coach the same way. We did the same drills. We did the same everything. We didn't win because you have to have talent. Yeah. And that's what I feel bad for some of the parents that get into, well, this coach isn't good because they don't win. The coach doesn't win because there's a lack of talent.
Yeah. There's some great coaches out there that have had that battle of not being deep.
You can't, and that's what. Not to be dumb, there are years that the bus driver could have taken our team to the Final Four.
Sure.
You had 5 D1 pitchers. Well, who are we gonna throw? Does it matter?
Yeah.
I mean, not in a mean way, but it's like if you have enough talent, hey, you're only 92. Sorry, you're sitting. You go like, but
Who's
nevertheless,
going to pitch game one? The guy who's the future major league pitcher, or the guy who's the future major league linebacker, right? Or future NFL linebacker? That's a real tough decision.
it's a tough one. Speaking of Calvin Munson, he just signed with the Vikings this week.
Good for him.
He's on the practice squad. I just texted him earlier today. So
That's awesome.
if anyone's wondering where Calvin Munson is, he's with the Minnesota Vikings on the practice squad.
There you go.
So we're talking about culture. I don't know. We're talking about a lot of things, but obviously you have an idea now of like what you want out of a player. So when you go into like tryouts and you start assessing players, obviously you're looking for talent, but what other things kind of help kids set apart, or kids that you like, hey, I need you a part of this team, even if their talent level's not D1 talent. There's a lot of guys that are essential to a team that aren't just the talent guys.
You know, it's the phrase that coaches like to use maybe is a glue guy. And we've had a couple glue guys at Zumwalt West that have been phenomenal. That guys that understand that they can be a valuable asset to the team, even if they are not in the lineup every day. And they're always ready to go. They always do whatever they're asked, and they're just phenomenal kids that never – and they don't underestimate their own contributions either. But that's just part of what we try to do, is to establish that open line of communications. And we start with, like, we'll start early on. We have meetings with, we have Monday morning meetings with every Monday morning. But we try to build that foundation of why. We always start with why. Why are we here? Why are we playing baseball? Why are we doing the drills? What are our goals for the season? What are our dreams? And then, okay, if these are our goals, if our goal is to win a conference title, win a district title, win the Troy tournament, make that Final Four run, well, what are the things that we got to do that? Yeah. And so we really break that down kind of from a very simple baseball analytics way, if you will. It's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery, but we just talk about, okay, if we want to be successful, we can't walk more than 2.5 guys per game. We have to grind out at-bats, and we have to find ways to eliminate strikeouts. We have to find ways to take extra bases. We preach at our place win in the 90s, and we chart the 90s every single game. And at the end of the week, we'll go through the week, the results for the week. We'll talk about, hey, here's the score of the ball games, and here's the score for the 90s. And it's everything from wild pitches, pass balls, stolen bases, dirt ball reads, taking extra bags, preventing extra bags on defense, web gems. It's just all those little things. So
some would say
that add up.
I don't know, fundamentals.
Fundamentals, yes.
Putting the fun back in fundamentals.
Yeah, and you say that, and it's we've had groups in particular, like our 21 group was the one in particular that every coach preaches it.
Yes,
it's simple to preach it. And
you can
say,
preach
we got to do this better.
But the emphasis in teaching,
that's
what people are like. Hey, you know what? Bunting's important.
Yeah.
But how often do you actually implement it, drill it, teach it? And that's where I think you go from average coaching to really good coaching, are the coaches that actually they take upon themselves to make sure the team's prepared. If someone doesn't get a bunt down, they're not yelling at the kid saying, hey, it's your fault. Well, if the kid doesn't get a bunt down, then I probably didn't prepare him enough.
Absolutely.
And I take it personally. And most of the good coach, I know Tony does, and a lot of those coaches, if they don't execute, it's like, hey, we got to work on this.
Yeah, let's get it fixed. We got to get ready to go for district time. And something like, the 21 team in particular, like we pride ourselves, and this is going to sound really stupid, really simple, but this is how simple coaching is. We want to be the best team in the state at playing catch, which sounds really dumb. But we simply believe if we play catch better than those guys on the other side, we're probably going to have a pretty good chance to win. Because let's be honest, most high school games are lost and not won.
Well, absolutely. If you can't catch, whether it's a fly ball or ground ball, and then you can't throw it across the infield or to your cut or to wherever, you're going to give up extra runs.
Absolutely.
And I don't care how good your offense is, you can only give up so many extra runs.
Yeah.
And the offense like last year, I don't know, we haven't even talked about. Offensively last year was probably the worst year I've seen as far as kids hitting.
There weren't many guys in the conference that scared us.
They're really, I'm holistically, and I think
It's down across the state.
and I don't even think it's not. But I'm saying, to me, I think the reason I'd be curious what you thought, but pitchers now going to off-season development, it's not the velo, but their ability to get their secondary pitches, curveball, slider, changeup for strikes. They're opening. I saw more kids throwing first pitch curve, slider for strike. Now it's 0-1 because high school hitters are taught to take off speed.
Yep.
So all of a sudden they've dug a hole, and hitters are going to have to, if you're getting ready to go in off-season, you better start working on hitting curveballs and sliders and not just fastballs, because if you're going to sit on fastball all year, I think it's going to be a long spring, because what I saw last year was the first year that I was like, pitchers are dominant with off speed. I mean, your pitchers have done a great job of getting ahead off speed. Who was it, 2 years ago? Clark?
Yeah. Yep.
You throw that frisbee slider.
Yeah.
Deverman could throw whatever he wanted.
Oh, the one that drove people nuts was Perry.
Yeah.
Travis Perry would get by 3-0. Anytime he got down 3-0, next thing that came was the get me over curveball right down the middle. Just a big.
But high school
Take
hitters
this,
are
buddy.
taught, don't swing a curve, like growing up. And that's where I think hitting coaching is going to have to change and start getting into, if you see this spin, this is how to attack, which that's the fun part about baseball. There's always this give and take. In the pitching I saw last year, man, I saw more, and I'm not talking to our 3-4 hitters. 8-9 is getting first pitch curve, and I'm like,
What is going on here?
pitchers are throwing it for strikes, and I think that's where P3 and some of these ace and the other ones, the velo is the velo. I think high school hitters you're going to catch up to velo.
Yeah, if you're just throwing fastballs and that's the only pitch you can locate, good luck.
No.
It's going to get hit eventually.
And that's not enough in high school right now to get. I don't care if you're throwing 90, you're going to get lit up if it's just 90.
Yeah.
But the off speed, it's interesting the shift that I've seen the last couple of years. But we took a left turn. You were talking about playing catch and being the best team playing catch, and we ended up with curveballs and snow cones and whatever.
You knew that was going to happen today.
Absolutely, I'm okay with it. But I agree with you. You can't give away extra runs.
Yeah, that's what we really pride ourselves on. That is, if we're going to lose today, well, the Jaguars are not going to be the one to beat Zumwalt West. We're going to make them beat us.
Yeah.
And we, quite frankly, we've gotten really good at letting other teams beat themselves. We'll beat other teams 5-3 because you gave us 3 runs. Thank you very much. Let's play again.
And typically, and you've seen the shift from when you started in 10, 11, 12 to now, where now you have the elite mentality. You are the elite program where when teams come in, if it's a close game, they typically break before you do. Because there's
a pressure. There's a pressure there. And that was probably the biggest hurdle to overcome with that culture, is that belief. Is, and once you have that, man, we're hanging on to that for dear life, and we're selling what it takes to be successful. And that's what I loved about even the team we had last year. It didn't matter what the score was. It didn't matter what the situation was. We got out of more bases loaded or 2 on nobody out jams probably than any team in the state.
You guys limit damage really, really well.
And that's just our pitchers. Our pitchers know I'm going to make this pitch, and I'm going to trust these guys behind me to make a play. And our guys are really, really good at it. And that's been something that's just, hey, we're willing to give up 1, maybe 2, but gosh darn it, we're not going to give up 3, 4, or 5. And if you can get 1 in the first and 1 in the third and 1 in the fourth, and we can limit you to 3 runs a game, we know we're going to have a chance. And if we have a chance and you think that you got to be perfect to beat Zumwalt West, then the pressure's on you, and then you make a mistake and you let one slip away.
In high school, that typically, high school kids struggle more with, they see the name Zumwalt West or Liberty North or Howell or whatever, and it becomes this block of like, wow, if we mess up, we're going to lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's because the talent gap between schools is, there's some, but it's not enough that you can't overcome.
No, absolutely not.
Like, you have a good pitcher. Well, to me, Howe Central does a great job. Beckman's done a great job.
Oh, for sure.
Maximizing what's going on at Central. Like, no offense to anyone, but what he did with Howe Central last year, how he wasn't Coach of the Year, I didn't vote, but I'm just saying everyone I think had him picked like 4th in the conference. They
Right.
were down. I mean, he was right into the conference championship until really right at the end. And
100%.
so what he got out of that program and the direction that program's going, he's doing a tremendous job over there.
Yeah, kids are bought in and they play hard.
And once
they do the little things well.
and they're going to show up and compete. I don't care what the jersey says.
Yeah.
Like they're the ones that chip on their shoulder of like, Zumwalt West, let's go.
Yeah.
Like they embrace that, and I love that about Nick, that he's brought that culture to Central.
For sure.
Especially now that I'm not coaching anymore. I'm like, man, go get him, Nick. You talk about the Monday morning meetings.
Yeah.
That's not something that you start out doing when you.
Nope.
So how did you decide this is something I should be doing?
Was willing to grow and learn and try it. And, it's something that that's kind of been part of what we've done at Zumwalt West is we're willing to fail. We're willing to try things. And if they don't work, we'll throw them away. And if we like them, we'll rerun them. We'll run them again. But that was an idea actually that came straight out of Monday mindset meetings that our track program did, track and cross country. They do Monday mindset. So they would meet Monday afternoon and they would talk about the races over the weekend and what the training program looked like for the week and what we got to do to be successful as a program and as individuals. And he had PowerPoints that he went through and yada, yada. And I still keep the first Monday morning meeting PowerPoint that I made. And it's somewhere in the ballpark of 8 to 10 slides. So Sunday afternoon and evening now, every week I sit down and I bang out a PowerPoint. And generally now they're somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 65 slides. And we meet every morning at 6:30 and we get them out of there by about 7:10, 7:15 and go to first hour and boom, it just kind of sets the tone for the week. But it gives us an opportunity to say, hey, here are our goals. Here's how we measured on these measurables that we have for the week. Here's the areas that we're doing, here's the things we're doing well. Here's the things we need to do better. Remember this game on Tuesday last week. What are the takeaways we got out of this? Hey, we may have won this game, fellows, but what can we learn here? And we try to build those focuses. And then, it gives us a chance to recognize individual accomplishments as well.
So
we have
are
players
you going
of the
a whole
week.
program or just varsity?
That's one of the great things about we do the whole program.
Which I think
It's
is
everybody.
awesome. Yeah.
It's great. And what I love is when I go to a freshman game and I hear those guys using the phrases and using the lingo and talking about the things. It's a varsity.
It's a program.
It's a varsity heavy meeting.
Yeah.
But we talk about the JV guys. We put their measurables up there. We have a freshman offensive and defensive, offensive player of the week, pitcher of the week. So we recognize those guys. And then they hear the things that we're talking about as a varsity, like saying, hey, here's what we need to be successful. Here's why we have been successful. And here's what we need to do to keep this going. And let's apply that down here at the freshman level as well. So I love walking in the dugout and then hearing guys saying stuff that we talk about in our Monday morning meetings. And it's become, I would say in my tenure, it's become the pillar of our program.
Well, I think, that's what I'm shocked that maybe other people are doing it. I don't know. You're the first one because we talk from time to time. Hey, what's going on? You're talking. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know other schools that do it. Which unfortunately, there's not a lot of teachers still in the buildings to get that done.
Right.
Which is sad because that connection is awesome. But I think that's why the culture. And I saw at the prep camp. We were talking about the prep camp. Like you have the kids in Jaguar hats, jerseys. Like it stands out. Those kids are excited to put on that Zumwalt West jersey from that moment. Like anyone could do it. It's not a big deal, but that's what things that you're doing as far as culture and climate within your program. I think that's why when you play Zumwalt West, those kids are playing for each other. Mm-hmm. There's a dynamic that is different than other schools. You can feel it. It's just not a rivalry with how in Zumwalt West. Like I'll go watch you guys play other teams. You bring the same energy whether you're playing us or whoever, because the buy-in that you have in program is impressive.
It's a pride thing,
and
as silly as this, one thing we do, and you got a lot of schools do it. When the game ends, it's boom, kids scatter, and it's rakes and shovels and tamps, and it's get the ballpark cleaned up. And let's not lie, we don't have the greatest facility in the state of Missouri.
You got a good dirt field.
It's a good dirt field when we have the right amount of moisture in it, but not
very often. There's nothing wrong with a dirt field.
Yes, there is. In the state of Missouri, In
Okay.
2025, there
I was
is.
trying to be nice.
You
but-
are being nice, but there
Although I
is-
would take a good dirt field over an average grass field.
That's fair. That's fair.
And there's a whole lot of average grass fields.
That's
Don't
very
put
fair.
grass in if you're not going to do it well, because
Yeah.
then it's plinko.
That's absolutely true.
And that is not, at least dirt, you can see the bad hop coming.
Yeah, that's
the grass
dangerous.
is like, hey, look, oh, it hit the lip. Now it's in left field. Like,
Yeah.
that's not safe.
Yeah, absolutely. But our kids take pride in being a Zumwalt West baseball player. And we just even tell our freshman parents early on, freshman parents, sorry, when the game ends and we're at home, you're going to get your kid about 20 minutes later because they're going to do some field maintenance because this is our place. This is our home. We take pride in it. And playing at Zumwalt West means something. It means that when you wear that jersey, you represent not just you, but you represent your mom and your dad, your buddies, your coaches, your school. And you need to understand what that means. And that's just something that we do. And we get, that's why we do the hats and the shirts at the GAC camp. I show up at the GAC camp, and one of the first things I do is I find the knuckleheads, and I just say, hey, who do you play for? And they say, I play for the Prospects. Wrong. Who do you play for? I play for the Bandits. Wrong. Who do you play for? And finally, about 4 or 5 kids in, I play for Fort Zumwalt West. Ding, ding, ding. There you go.
Yeah.
You're a Jaguar today, fellas, and that's the way you're going to be for the next 4 years. So you better figure that out. And it's just getting kids to buy into that, okay, I'm representing Zumwalt West. This means something.
Yeah. And I think that has shifted tremendously since obviously we were playing, because we played at Howell. We always identify as playing for Howell Vikings back in the 90s, but now there's clubs, and they spend more time with their clubs than they do. I don't even know if it's more time. There's more months that they do, but the amount of time we spend daily with them, it may come close to averaging that out. But because they pay $4,000 to play for fill in the blank,
Right.
they wear that hat and they identify as that person. But if you're going to play in college, high school baseball prepares you for what college baseball is going to be like, much more so than club.
Sure.
Club
Absolutely.
will get you noticed and get you I'm not nothing against club, but I'm saying that the type of baseball, we need to win. We need to do small ball. You need to sacrifice. You need to do whatever. The fundamental part, team baseball, is high school.
Yeah. And that's what I love is, kind of, the first couple tournaments of the season is getting kids back into that high school baseball mentality.
mindset, yeah.
And that mindset of, hey, we're going to do the little things really well. And we're, and we're not just going to go out and play 3 or 4 games on a weekend. And it really doesn't matter if you're having a good outing or not. You're going to keep pitching and getting your innings. And, there's a guy in scoring position. We're down by 1. Go ahead and get your swings because there might be a scout in the stands, all those kind of things. So, and then, by the time you're 10, 12 games in, oh, hey, here comes Francis Howell in early April, and this is a big conference tilt early on. So, yeah, this game means a little bit something different than any game you played over the summer.
Absolutely. The intensity of those games, and to me, I love them. They're fun.
Absolutely.
The back and forth. And obviously, there have been years that teams have crossed the line with different things on both sides, which you live with because they're passionate.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather play in a passionate environment than, like, I went to Summer League at CarShield this summer to watch a couple. Oh, my gosh.
Ho-hum, I'm sure.
Oh, man, that was boring. I mean, it was tough. I love baseball, but, man, it was tough to sit there and be like, the players didn't want to be, the coaches didn't want, it was bad, especially coming out of playing games like Howell, Zumwalt West, or any of those sort of environments where parents are passionate, fans are passionate, the players are like, those are fun.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
And I loved competing. I still love competing, but now that I'm not. But it was fun, like competing. We'd argue about baseball, and then after the game, be like, "Love you, let's go." Like,
Absolutely. I mean, the number of times I've walked up and told Coach Perkins, who obviously was our coach in high school, we go up and have a great pregame conversation. I give him a hug and I tell him I love him. I said, I'm going to hate your guts from 4:15 to 6:15. He said, I wouldn't expect anything else. And then 6:30, it's a handshake and a hug and love you, Coach. And obviously he's been just a fantastic mentor for me. And how many nights have I sat in his hotel room picking his brain on stuff, just soaking up ideas from a legend.
He's not lacking ideas.
No.
I have enough Perkins stories to go. I could do a whole show on Perkins stories.
Whole series.
Oh my gosh. All good, Tony. All good. Now he got me thinking stories.
How many questions have we actually hit on your little iPad there,
that's
buddy?
that's a great question.
We hit any of them?
I got name. I got snow cones.
Okay.
Not many,
I'm sure we haven't.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to, because you're talking about program, and from the players to the parents to buy-in. The other thing that you have been really good about retaining coaches. Like you've had
Oh, I've been so fortunate.
Robertson was there for a long time. System's been there. Like it seems like your coaches, they have the same pride and buy-in that they don't want to leave the program, which is rare because typically, obviously, we've coached a long time. When we go to a new school, it's always like, hey, next assistant's there. The next like there's this revolving door of coaches.
Yeah.
So for you to be consistent, it's been impressive that you can retain them because obviously you're treating them well and doing things well with them. But like, what role do they play within what you're trying to do?
Well, I think and I hope that they always knew just how vital they were. I mean, for my first 10 years, our staff did not change. I mean,
And that's crazy
as far as
in
the
high school
four,
sport, yeah.
The 4 paid coaches did not change. It was, it was myself. Ryan Edding was the varsity assistant. Matt Sissom was the JV coach for all those years. And let's not lie, he was a varsity caliber coach at the JV level for so many years.
Unbelievable job.
Unbelievable. Just a fantastic job and such a phenomenal winning record. And then Brian Spees for all those years, those 10 years, just did such a remarkable job of laying the groundwork for what we were trying to do. And we communicated. We talked a lot, and we all had the same vision and the same goal, which was get to that district title, get over that hump, go win a conference title, go make a Final Four run. Even if it was Spees or Sissom, I mean, it was always the same goal. Get him, Brian Spees said, my job's get them ready for JV. And if midway through the season, Coach Sissom, you come to me and say, I need your best guy, your best infielder, then boom, go. That's my job. It's go in.
And that's a
Coach
tough job.
Sissom, and it is a tough job and very much underappreciated in many places.
And that's, I think, the lower levels in baseball set the foundation. If that foundation isn't set,
It's tough.
the pride in the program, the way things are done, the way you practice, the way all those things, the way you carry yourself, talking to umpires, like the foundational pieces that you need in a program, that guy is the gatekeeper. And if you don't have a good one,
well, and that I think that speaks to some of the success we had in that 21 season, because we all came back from COVID, and almost nobody had any returning players per se.
no.
Because your seniors didn't get to play as juniors. You might have had a sophomore or two who got to play and was coming back for their senior year, but we were coming back, and everybody in the state was coaching a bunch of kids, for the most part, that they haven't been around at the varsity level. And that just speaks volumes to the importance of what those lower level coaches did, preparing those kids. Because, man, we came in knowing we're going to have to really teach this year more than we've had to, because so much of what we do in the preseason and in the early tournaments is we say, hey, juniors, you see what that guy just did right there? That's what we do. Now you need to do it like we do. And honestly, we didn't have to do that much because of the groundwork that the local level coaches, the foundation they laid for our guys. And that's why we hit the ground running, and that group came together like crazy good, and we had a great run.
That was a talented group.
It was a talented group on top
And
of
they
it.
played. One of the things I'm going to ask is, I know we've talked about from time. You allow your kids, your players, to have personality.
Yes.
But at the same time, I know through the years there's kind of been this trying to learn how to set boundaries within that.
Sure.
The 21 group was energetic.
Yeah, you're being nice.
But at the same time, I mean, I don't obviously. At how we've had some teams that were
Oh, sure,
we'll call them
absolutely.
energetic.
Absolutely.
But I think that's one of the toughest things to balance in high school is when kids are passionate about playing.
Yep.
You don't want to take away the personality because then they can't be themselves. I think Tennessee is doing a great job with.
Absolutely.
It's fun. Like, this is a game, let them play, and trying to find the boundaries and the balance of like, hey, I'm going to let you go this far, but okay, I draw the line here. Like, over the years, have you had to redraw your lines a little bit or try to figure out your boundaries?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The 21 team was fantastic, and in many ways. Not fantastic in the way that they crossed the line way too often.
They were capable.
Yeah, they were capable. But on occasion, I'll get asked, what the heck is going on over there, man? Like, why are your kids acting like that?
I got asked many times about you guys. I'm like,
and
Eric's good. He's got it. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, and from the outside looking in, it's real easy to be judgmental and say, man, there's all sorts of problems going on over there. And I've never really concerned myself with what other people think.
No.
Now, that being said, did we cross the line? Absolutely we did. We were inappropriate. We were excited, passionate in sometimes the wrong way.
Rambunctious.
Absolutely.
But if you take that out of that group.
We made a conscious decision as a coaching staff to try to reel that in a piece at a time. And we weren't always successful. But what people from the outside looking in never could see is the absolute selflessness of that group of young men that we did not want to take away from them. And we felt like if we took away some of those pieces that were the passion, that were the excitement, that were the energy,
identity,
we might be taking away some of that selflessness and damaging what that identity was. So, like I said, we weren't always successful riding that line, but at the end of the year, if I had the choice to, like my father, who's a baseball guy, asked me at the end of the year, he said, if you had to do it over, would you have shut them down way earlier in the season, or would you have let it ride a little bit and end up where you ended up? And I said, quite frankly, I love those guys too much to shut them down the way that people thought I should have from the outside looking in.
And I think that's a really difficult balance of, we know the players, like I'm in the building with these guys, you're in the building with them. We know them beyond the field.
Yeah.
We know their heart. We know their intent. They're kids. They're 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that say and do things. It's not that you don't correct them. But at the same time, they're learning and growing.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how to have those conversations that people will never see, never hear, and allow them to grow through the process instead of just, hey, go run polls because you did this. Right. And that's the tough part that people don't understand. We spend so much time with these kids.
Yep. We
have them in class. A lot of them we have from freshman year, and we've known them for 4 years. We love the kids.
Sure.
So and when they're being passionate, it's hard, and that's what it's just always been interesting, because when Zumwalt West was losing early on, no one really said much. But as you've gotten more confident, and that confidence has grown into the elite program that you guys are, all of a sudden people are like, we don't like that anymore, or we don't like that. Well,
that was part of the problem. Part of the problem with that 21 team was we won a lot of ball games.
Well,
and there was a real easy way to get our guys to shut up. We'll go score 5 on them, and we got quiet real quick. But that group was so good that it just didn't happen very often.
No, and it's still one of the most memorable games that I've coached. There are a couple, but that game to go to the Final Four between us and you guys.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I mean, I think there was no hitter-ish through 5 or something. We were up 5-6. I mean,
it was 6-0 going in the top of the 6th. Well, bottom of the 6th.
Something like
bottom of 6th.
The resilience that you guys showed, because both those teams were loaded. I mean, there was a ton of kids. That was that was one of my favorite atmospheres of any. I mean, that was packed.
Oh, it was amazing.
It was a fun game, and that's to me high school baseball. I mean, one team's gonna have to lose, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
But both teams have worked hard. Both teams were passionate. We had a very feisty group that year. You had it one.
Oh, for sure.
It was every time we played it was good times.
Yeah.
I enjoy. I mean, those are the games that now that I'm not coaching, I'll miss those sort of games. Even though in the midst of them, you're like, oh my gosh, I wish those guys would just shut up. But then the game won't be as fun.
I even had, actually I was talking to Nolan Sissom, our junior this year, and he just came by the room and he said, Coach, I'm so glad the way you schedule games for us, because, I know the way that other programs, other sports, other coaches schedule their season. And he said, I love that we play CBC and Jackson and Howell and Edwardsville. And there's no backing down from anybody. And I said, well, Nolan, that's what we need to do, because if we think we're going to win a conference title, you better play as many tough teams as you can. If you think you're going to be ready to win districts, you got to learn how to execute and compete at a really high level in really tight situations. because you're not going to get very good
No.
by playing a soft schedule
No.
and beating up on people. It's not going to prepare you to go win a conference title and a district title.
You need to lose some of those games. You need to fail in close games
Absolutely.
and learn from the bad read on this ball or what. Like, you have to learn through failure, and unfortunately, failure is probably the best way to grow. But
Absolutely.
you can't really grow when you're playing teams that are talent gap is big.
Yeah.
Like, winning by 10, 15 runs doesn't really do you much good.
And if you're a program on the other side of that, like, it's one thing to go schedule tough teams. If you know you're not as talented, you gotta get games where you're going to be competitive. That's the trick as a coach, is you got to find those competitive environments, competitive games that teams will put some pressure on you. You're going to have a chance to win if you execute well, and you can put some pressure on the other teams. Those kind of things. So scheduling is a really important piece of the puzzle that can be overlooked.
The Troy tournament, the Columbia tournament, the Midwest Classic. I mean, you're seeing a lot of different teams. The Columbia tournament's really good.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's good to get away, and I know you do some other things down there that going bowling, that team bonding part that is so, and that's what the culture part that gets overlooked is the part that I think I appreciate the most within your pro. I mean, those kids are proud of. I've gotten to spend a little time with Nolan Sissom. He's him and Ty are actually hitting
and loving it.
So so I've got to, actually last week I spent a little time with him. Great kid. The kid can flat out hit.
Oh, he's awesome.
I'm like,
He's different.
and that's what people get caught up in. Well, he's at West or he's at Central. Man, I just want to teach the game. I love baseball. So, I mean, whoever wants, I will be around. You want me to come teach bunting? I can do that. So
You'll be
you
at
let me
Zumwalt
know.
West.
I'll be over there teaching bunting. I'll be
Come on.
wherever. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. So we've been talking 51 minutes as of right now. I'm looking at the screen because if I don't, I get things thrown at me. But hopefully you can come back. Love to talk some more. I mean, I'm missing.
I love chatting. Anytime I get an invite to talk baseball, the answer is yes. I love talking baseball.
Good news. I'm the guy for you. But hopefully you got something out today. Eric, come back hopefully another time. We can catch up on some other things, talk about the upcoming season, different things I had on the sheet here, which we didn't get to. But that's okay. Appreciate you watching. I will see you next time.